too. Dollars inside. So
In the sprawling landscape of 21st century action cinema, where superheroes dominate the box office and franchises are built on pre-sold nostalgia, the figure of the lone vigilante has undergone a curious evolution. The 1980s gave us Paul Kersey's unhinged death wish, Charles Bronson's grimy urban warrior. The 1990s offered Brian Mills' very specific set of skills in Taken, a film that redefined the aging action star genre. But in 2014, Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington delivered something altogether different: The Equalizer. It wasn't a film about revenge in the traditional sense, nor was it a simple wrong place, wrong time actioner. It was a meditative, almost zen-like exploration of a deeply moral monster who has perfected the art of hiding in plain sight. The film opens not with a bang, but with the sound of a ticking stopwatch and a man reading a book in a 24-hour diner. This is the thesis statement of The Equalizer. Patience, precision, and internal discipline are far more terrifying weapons than any firearm. This document will serve as an exhaustive exploration of that film. We will dissect its narrative DNA, critique its artistic merits and flaws, and unearth the staggering volume of facts behind its production, release, and enduring legacy. By the end, you will understand why Robert McCall is not just another action hero, but a modern myth for an anxious age. Part 1. Explanation: The Anatomy of a Vigilante. Chapter 1. From TV static to silver screen, the adaptation journey. To understand the 2014 The Equalizer, one must first glance backward. The original television series, created by Michael Sloan and Richard Lindheim, aired on CBS from 1985 to 1989. It starred Edward Woodward as Robert McCall, a former intelligence operative who, weary of the bureaucratic red tape that allowed criminals to flourish, placed a classified ad in a newspaper. Got a problem? Odds against you. Call The Equalizer. The show was a product of its Reagan-era anxieties, urban decay, drug epidemics, and a perceived failure of the justice system. It was gritty, psychological, and often melancholic, with a jazz-infused, noir atmosphere. For nearly 2 decades, a film adaptation languished in development hell. The provided text notes the timeline. In April 2005, producer Mace Neufeld, a veteran of Tom Clancy adaptations, partnered with Sloan. The Weinstein Company acquired rights in December 2005. Screenwriters Michael Connelly, yes, the crime novelist, and Tara Lee Langford were hired in 2007, with Paul McGuigan, Lucky Number 11, attached to direct. That version evaporated. Then, in June 2010, a bizarre pairing emerged. Russell Crowe wanted to star as McCall, with Paul Haggis, Crash, directing. One can only imagine the bruising intensity of a Crowe-led Equalizer, but it was not to be. The turning point came in December 2011, when Denzel Washington entered talks. This was a seismic shift. Washington, one of the greatest actors of his generation, a 2-time Oscar winner, was not a typical action star. He had done Training Day, also with Fuqua, Man on Fire, and American Gangster, but those were dramas first, action films second. His brand was stoic intelligence, moral ambiguity, and explosive, justified rage. He was perfect. Nicholas Winding Refn Drive briefly entered talks to direct in 2012, a tantalizing what-if that would have produced a neon-drenched, synth-scored, minimalist masterpiece. But the partnership dissolved. Finally, on March 21st, 2013, Antoine Fuqua signed on. This was a reunion of the Training Day duo, a film that had earned Washington his second Oscar for Best Actor, and cemented Fuqua as a director of muscular, morally complex urban thrillers. Richard Wenk, the mechanic, The Expendables 2, was brought on to write the final script. Wenk's mandate was clear: strip away the 80s procedural elements, retain the core concept of a guardian angel with a dark past, and transplant it into a post-financial crisis, hyper-violent world of Russian oligarchs and human trafficking. The result is a film that shares only a title and a premise with its source material. In spirit, it is a pure Fuqua Washington creation. Chapter 2. Character Deconstruction. Robert McCall, the Measured Monster. Robert McCall, Denzel Washington, is a paradox. On the surface, he is a gentle, soft-spoken widower who works the night shift at a Home Depot-style Home Mart in Boston. He suffers from insomnia, a likely symptom of PTSD from his unnamed, shadowy past as a DIA officer, Defense Intelligence Agency, and a former Marine. He lives in a Spartan apartment, furnishing it with IKEA flat packs that he assembles with the same meticulous precision he will later apply to disassembling a Russian crime ring. He reads the classics, Ernest Hemingway, Ralph Waldo Emerson, not for pretension but for guidance. When a young co-worker, Ralphie, Johnny Scortis, is reading a copy of The Old Man and the Sea, McCall offers a quiet lesson. You want to know what it's about? It's about a man who knows what he's capable of. He knows what the fish is capable of, and he knows what the sea is capable of, and he respects all three. This line is the key to McCall's entire character. He is a man who has calibrated his own capacity for violence with terrifying accuracy. He is not a berserker. He is an engineer of ass-kickings. He times his actions. He uses a stopwatch to ensure he completes tasks, a grocery run, a walk to work, within a predetermined window. This obsessive timekeeping is a form of control, a way to impose order on a world he knows to be fundamentally chaotic. When he must kill, he does so not with fury, but with an almost religious detachment. He calculates angles, leverages physics, and uses the environment as his weapon. What separates McCall from other, retired badass heroes, John Wick, Brian Mills, is his lack of personal stakes at the outset. John Wick's rampage is triggered by the murder of his dog, a final gift from his dead wife. Brian Mills's rampage is triggered by the kidnapping of his daughter. McCall's trigger is a stranger, Alina/Terry, Chloë Grace Moretz, a teenage sex worker he meets at the diner. He has no romantic or filial connection to her. He simply recognizes a human being in a cage. His motivation is not revenge. It is a rigid, uncompromising moral arithmetic. He offers Slavi, her pimp, $9,800, a fair market price, in McCall's mind, for Alina's freedom. When Slavi laughs and mocks him, McCall's response is methodical. Somebody hurts a kid on my watch, and they've got a problem. He is not a vigilante out of trauma, but out of principle. That principle is what makes him a compelling, if terrifying, hero. Chapter 3. Plot Dissection. A Clockwork of Violence and Redemption. The screenplay by Richard Wenk is a masterclass in 3-act structure, built on a foundation of cause and effect that feels inexorable. Act 1. The quiet life and the cry for help, minutes 0 to 30. The film establishes McCall's routine with documentary-like patience. We see him clock in at Home Mart, help a customer find a pipe fitting, and share a quiet meal with his coworkers. He reads in the diner. The camera lingers on his face, weary, intelligent, watchful. Alina, she tells McCall her real name in a moment of vulnerability, is introduced as a talkative, dreamy teenager who wants to be a singer. She has a copy of Anna Karenina that she's struggling with. McCall gently offers to define the difficult words. This is not a seduction, it is a mentorship. The inciting incident is swift and brutal. After a walk together, Alina is violently confronted by her pimp, Slavi, David Meunier, who slaps her, shoves her into a car, and hands McCall a business card. McCall does nothing. He is holding back. But when Alina is beaten so severely that she is hospitalized in the ICU, McCall's restraint evaporates. He visits Slavi at his restaurant. The dialogue is terse. McCall offers the $9,800. Slavi refuses, threatening him. McCall doesn't raise his voice. He simply asks for a glass of water, times his exit, and then, in a sequence of brutal efficiency, kills Slavi and all 5 of his men using a corkscrew, a steak knife, and a broken glass. The violence is sudden, wet, and shockingly final. This is the point of no return. Act 2. The Unwinding and the Oligarch's Shadow, minutes 30 to 80. Act 2 is a chess game. McCall's actions have attracted the attention of a much larger entity, the Russian mafia syndicate of oligarch Vladimir Pushkin, Vladimir Kulich. Enter Teddy Renson/Nikolai Marton Csokas. Teddy is not a typical henchman. He is a psychopath with the manners of a banker. He wears expensive suits, quotes literature, and tortures people with a calm, almost bored demeanor. He is McCall's dark mirror, equally intelligent, equally patient, but devoid of empathy. The act unfolds as a cat-and-mouse hunt. Teddy methodically works his way through Boston's underworld, torturing an Irish mob lieutenant for information. He kills corrupt cops who fail him. He kills Mandy, Haley Bennett, Alina's friend and fellow sex worker, after learning she concealed McCall's identity. McCall, meanwhile, is not just reacting. He takes his own steps, blackmailing corrupt cops, beating a would-be robber with a hammer, and finally making contact with his former DIA colleague, Susan Plummer and Melissa Leo. Susan's briefing is the film's exposition dump, but it's handled elegantly. She reveals Teddy's true identity, Nikolai Yatchenko, ex-Spetsnaz, ex-KGB, and outlines Pushkin's empire. McCall then goes on the offensive, taking down a money-laundering warehouse and destroying 2 oil tankers. He doesn't just hit Pushkin's men, he hits his profit margin. The thematic argument becomes clear. McCall is not a street-level vigilante. He is a one-man asymmetrical warfare unit. Act 3. The Home Depot of Horrors and Final Reckoning, minutes 80 to 132. Teddy, frustrated and embarrassed, escalates. He kidnaps McCall's co-workers, Ralphie, Marcus, and a few others, and holds them hostage in the Home Mart. He calls McCall, demanding a meeting at the docks. McCall, in a brilliant subversion of genre expectations, goes to the docks, kills the guards there first, then rushes back to Home Mart. He tells Teddy, "I'm not coming to the docks. I'm already here." The final battle is a masterpiece of location-based violence. McCall uses the hardware store like a samurai uses a forest. He disassembles a nail gun to use its individual parts as projectiles. He uses a corkscrew, a callback to the first kill. He weaponizes oven cleaner, a chainsaw, a crowbar, and a box cutter. The climax is a duel with Teddy in the storeroom. Teddy, a Spetsnaz-trained killer, is physically formidable, but McCall is mentally superior. In a scene of excruciating tension, McCall traps Teddy between shelves, pins him, and methodically fires nails from a nail gun into his chest, not killing him instantly, but immobilizing him, then delivering a final, merciful shot. "I'm going to make this as quick as I can," he says, before the final nail. The denouement is quiet. McCall visits Pushkin in Moscow, tricks him into electrocuting himself by answering a phone in a wet bathtub. He leaves a stack of money on Alina's hospital bedside. She recovers, buys a plane ticket, and begins a new life. The final shot is McCall placing a new classified ad on a shadowy online forum. Got a problem? Odds against you. Contact the Equalizer. The circle is complete. Chapter 4. Thematic deep dive, justice, time, and the myth of the good man. The Equalizer operates on a rich substrate of themes that elevate it above a simple revenge thriller. Justice versus the law. McCall is a former intelligence officer. He knows the law is a sieve. The corrupt Boston detectives are proof that the system is not just inefficient, but actively compromised. McCall's justice is pre-legal, almost biblical. He is a wrathful angel who operates outside the social contract. The film doesn't advocate for this. It simply presents it as a bleak reality in a world where a teenager can be beaten into a coma with impunity. Time as a weapon. McCall's stopwatch is not a gimmick, it's a philosophy. He believes that a task's duration is a measure of one's discipline. When he kills the 5 men in the restaurant, he does so in 19 seconds, a detail confirmed by Fuqua in commentary. The film's pacing reflects this. Fuqua allows scenes to breathe. A conversation can last 5 minutes. A silent shot of McCall assembling an IKEA shelf is a ritual. This deliberate slowness makes the sudden bursts of violence more shocking. The rarity of redemption, McCall does not seek redemption. He doesn't believe he is a good man. "There's no such thing as a good man," he tells Ralphie. "Just a bad man who decides to do something for the right reasons." This is a profound statement. McCall accepts his own darkness. He knows what he is capable of, and he has chosen to aim that capability at those who prey on the innocent. He is not a hero. He is a necessary corrective force. The classical man in a modern world. McCall's love of literature, Hemingway, Emerson, Anna Karenina, marks him as a man out of time. He values honor, duty, and a code of conduct that is utterly alien to the immoral, transactional criminals he faces. Teddy quotes literature as well, but as a weapon, a way to sound intellectual while being a monster. McCall reads to understand the human condition. This intellectualism is the film's secret weapon, lending gravitas to every punch and gunshot. Part 2. Critical Review. The Clockwork of a Cult Classic Chapter 5. The Denzel Factor. Star Power as Narrative Engine. It is impossible to overstate Denzel Washington's contribution to the Equalizer. He doesn't just play Robert McCall, he inhabits him. At 59 years old during filming, Washington brought a physicality that is less about agility and more about economy of motion. Every gesture is purposeful. When he eats his oatmeal at the diner, it's a ritual. When he closes his eyes in the sauna, it's meditation. When he kills, it's horrifying because his face barely changes. Washington's performance is the anchor for the film's moral ambiguity. He has a fundamental decency that shines through even the darkest scenes. You believe he would help Alina because you see genuine pain in his eyes when he visits her in the hospital. You believe he is a former killer because of the cold, dead calm that descends when he picks up a corkscrew. This dualism is the core of his star persona, the nice guy who might be a killer, the killer who is at heart a nice guy. Roger Ebert once noted that Washington has a center of gravity that makes him compelling even at rest. That is the whole film. Chapter 6, Fuqua's Gaze, Stylized Violence and Moody Atmosphere. Antoine Fuqua has always been a director of masculine, atmospheric thrillers. Training Day was a sun-baked descent into hell. The Equalizer is a rain-soaked, blue and gray meditation on purgatory. Cinematographer Mauro Fiore Avatar bathes Boston in a perpetual gloom. It's always either night, overcast, or raining. This creates a womb-like, claustrophobic atmosphere. McCall is a creature of the dark, and Fuqua ensures the world outside McCall's control is shadowy and threatening. The violence is the film's most controversial element. Unlike the slick, acrobatic gun-fu of John Wick, released the same year, the Equalizer's fights are awkward, ugly, and shockingly brutal. Fuqua uses slow motion judiciously, but he also uses invisible editing, long takes where the camera pulls back to let the violence unfold in real time. The Home Depot finale is a masterclass in spatial awareness. McCall knows the store. He uses aisles, shelving, and merchandise as both cover and weapon. When he kills a man with a corkscrew to the neck, we hear the pop of the trachea. When he uses a microwave to electrocute a man, it's inventive and grotesque. This is not fun violence. It is the violence of a desperate, skilled, angry man. This tonal choice alienated some critics, but earned a cult following. Chapter 7. The Villain Problem, Marton Csokas and the Necessary Evil. Marton Csokas as Teddy/Nikolai is a phenomenal antagonist. He understands the assignment, to be a credible threat to Denzel Washington. Csokas, a New Zealand actor, brings a chilling, European-style detachment. Teddy is a corporate psychopath. He doesn't enjoy pain for its own sake, he uses it as a tool. His interrogation of the Irish mobster is a slow, methodical dismantling, both physical and psychological. However, the film's villain structure has a flaw. The ultimate boss, Vladimir Pushkin, is a non-entity. He appears only at the end, is given no real characterization, and dies in an anticlimactic electrocution. The final confrontation is really with Teddy, and after McCall kills him with the nail gun, the Pushkin scene feels like an epilogue, not a climax. This is a common issue in action films, the franchise villain problem, but it's noticeable here because Teddy is so well drawn. One wishes the final 20 minutes had been a longer, more brutal duel between McCall and Csokas. Chapter 8. Chloë Grace Moretz, the damsel who refuses to be merely a plot device. Chloë Grace Moretz delivers a sympathetic, grounded performance as Alina/Terry, but her role is ultimately functional. She is the angel in the hardware store, the innocent whose suffering triggers the plot. However, Moretz fights against this limitation. In her scenes with Washington, she holds her own. The diner conversations feel real, not like exposition. Her dream of being a singer is a cliché, but Moretz sells it with a raw desperation. After she is hospitalized, she disappears for a large chunk of the film, only to reappear in the final scene to symbolically receive her freedom. The film sequels would give her a brief cameo, but here, she is a catalyst, not a character. It's a weakness in Wenk's script that is papered over by the actress's charm. Chapter 9. Screenplay Analysis, Economy, Silence, and the Wenkisms. Richard Wenk's script is lean to the point of being skeletal. This is a strength and a weakness. The strength is the economy of dialogue. McCall says very little, and when he does, it's memorable. "I'd like to help you," he tells Teddy. "I'd like to help everyone." Lines like, "A man's got to be what he is," "Ralphie" are simple but resonant. Wank also trusts the audience. He doesn't explain McCall's past in detail. He implies it through behavior. The weakness is the lack of subplot. Ralphie is a one-note character. The plumber couple, Bill Pullman and Melissa Leo, exists solely to provide exposition. The film is a straight line from A to B to C. There are no twists, no double crosses, no moral complexities beyond McCall's own internal debate. This is fine for a pure action vehicle, but for a film that aspires to the depth of a character study, it feels a bit thin. Compare it to Collateral or Heat, and you see what's missing: a rich tapestry of supporting characters with their own arcs. Chapter 10. The mixed reception, why mixed or average doesn't tell the whole story. The critical consensus for The Equalizer is genuinely unusual. A 61% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 57 on Metacritic indicates mixed or average. Yet, the audience gave it an A-cinema score, and it spawned 2 sequels. How to explain the disconnect? Critics who disliked the film pointed to 3 things. First, the runtime, 132 minutes, was considered indulgent for a film with such a simple plot. Second, the violence was seen as hypocritical, a film that preached pacifism while lovingly depicting brutal kills. Third, the film's politics were seen as reactionary, a tough-on-crime fantasy for a middle-aged audience that fears urban decay. Critics who liked the film, including this reviewer, argue that the runtime allows for necessary atmosphere, that the violence is meant to be ugly and uncomfortable, not lovingly depicted, and that the film is less a political screed and more a mythological fable. Washington's performance is often cited as the reason to watch, even for detractors. In hindsight, The Equalizer has aged well. It stands as a deliberate, thoughtful counterpoint to the glibness of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the hyperkinetic chaos of the Fast and Furious franchise. It is a film for grown-ups who miss when action movies had a human heartbeat. Part 3. Facts and Figures, the blueprint of a blockbuster. Chapter 11. Production Almanac, from Haverhill to the Toronto premiere. Location, location, location. Principal photography began in May 2013 and wrapped in September 2013, a relatively swift 4-month shoot. The primary location was Massachusetts, chosen for its tax incentives and its ability to double for a gritty, East Coast urban environment. Key locations included Haverhill, Massachusetts, many exterior shots of the Home Mart and the surrounding industrial area. The store interior was a built set. Hamilton, Ipswich, and Swampscott, Massachusetts, used for various residential and suburban exteriors, including McCall's apartment building and the Plummer House. Boston, Massachusetts. The iconic diner scenes were filmed at a real diner, the South Street Diner, in Boston's Leather District. The city's streets and alleyways feature heavily. Moscow. The final scene was filmed in and around a replica of a Russian oligarch's mansion, likely constructed on a backlit or at a Massachusetts estate. The Jaguar Easter egg. As noted in the text, the scene where McCall attempts to suffocate Frank Masters, David Harbour, involves a Series 3 Jaguar XJ6. This is a direct homage to the original television series, in which the 1980s era McCall drove a similar, though not identical, Jaguar. It's a blink-and-you'll-miss-it nod for superfans. Stunt and fight choreography. The film's brutal, efficient fight style was designed by stunt coordinator Keith Woolard, a veteran of The Dark Knight Rises and Captain America. Woolard worked closely with Washington, who did the vast majority of his own stunts despite being nearly 60. The famous corkscrew kill required a prosthetic neck and extensive rehearsal to get the sound and impact just right. The speed test scene where McCall kills 5 men in 19 seconds was shot in a single day, with Washington moving through a meticulously choreographed sequence of blocks, strikes, and weapon grabs. Melissa Leo's meta-connection. The provided text mentions a fascinating coincidence. Melissa Leo actually guest-starred in a Season 1 episode of the original The Equalizer TV series. The episode, titled The Defector, 1985, had her playing the daughter of a Soviet agent who seeks McCall's help. 30 years later, she plays an American intelligence officer helping the new McCall. This is one of the most obscure but delightful pieces of casting trivia in modern franchise cinema. Chapter 12, Box Office Autopsy. How a $55 million R-rated film made $192 million. The financial story of The Equalizer is a textbook case of counter-programming and star-driven success. The numbers. Budget, estimated $55 to $73 million. This is a mid-range budget for an R-rated action film, allowing for a solid return on investment. Domestic gross, $101.5 million. International gross, $90.8 million. Worldwide gross, $192.3 million. Opening weekend records, $34.1 million debut, number 1 at the box office, beating out animated films, The Box Trolls, and other action fare left behind. Biggest R-rated September opening ever at the time, surpassing Jackass number 2, $29 million. This record has since been broken, but it was a significant achievement. Biggest IMAX September opener. 5th biggest domestic opening for Denzel Washington, behind American Gangster, Safe House, and later its own sequels. The demographics, the audience breakdown is crucial. 52% male, 48% female, 65% over 30. This indicates that the film successfully appealed to an older demographic that studios often ignore, people who remember the original show, who love Denzel Washington, and who are willing to see an R-rated film. It was not a teen-driven blockbuster, it was a date night for adults film. International performance. The film performed best in markets with strong action audiences. The UK, $2.9 million opening. Russia, $2.7 million opening. Ironic, given the villains are Russian. Mexico and Brazil. The international total of $90.8 million nearly matched the domestic take, proving Washington's global star power. Profitability. After marketing and distribution costs, the film likely netted Sony Pictures a profit in the range of $70 to $90 million. This solid performance was the direct catalyst for the greenlighting of The Equalizer 2 just 7 months before the first film was even released. A massive vote of confidence. Chapter 13, Musical Score, Harry Gregson Williams' Industrial Symphony. Harry Gregson Williams, a frequent collaborator of Ridley Scott and Tony Scott, was hired to compose the score in June 2013. His work on The Equalizer is a standout element. Tonal approach. Gregson Williams eschewed a traditional orchestral score. Instead, he used a hybrid of low-end synth bass, metallic percussion, clanks, scrapes, and bangs that sound like a factory, and mournful spare piano. The main theme is not a melody but a rhythm, a ticking clock, a heartbeat, the sound of impending doom. This reflects McCall's internal clockwork. Key tracks. The Equalizer. Main title, a pulsating, low bass drone over which a simple, 2-note piano phrase repeats. It evokes both loneliness and menace. 5 Men Dead. The cue for the restaurant massacre. It begins with silence, then explodes into a cacophony of percussion, hits sync to the on-screen violence. Rooftop Duel. For the final confrontation with Teddy, the music becomes chaotic, with glitching electronics and distorted brass, mirroring the breakdown of order. The M&M Factor. The use of M&M's, Guts Over Fear, Feetsia, in the trailers and over the closing credits was a masterful marketing move. The song's lyrics. I know what it's like. I want to give and slash, but I gotta go. Gotta get to the bottom of this. Perfectly aligned with McCall's reluctant heroism. The song gave the film a contemporary edge and introduced the franchise to a younger audience. Critical acclaim. Gregson Williams' score was widely praised as one of the best of 2014. It was nominated for several awards, including the International Film Music Critics Association Award for Best Action/Adventure Film Score. The soundtrack album peaked at number 26 on the Billboard 200, an unusual achievement for a purely instrumental film score in the streaming era. Chapter 14, Trivia and Easter Eggs, The Hidden Layers. The $9,800. Why that specific number? In an interview, Fuqua revealed that McCall calculated the amount Alina would need to start a new life. A bus ticket, 3 months' rent, basic groceries, and singing lessons. It's a sum that shows McCall's obsessive, caring nature. The clock on the wall. Throughout the film, analog clocks appear in the background with their hands at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. This is a visual motif suggesting, full stop, or stand by, as if the world is holding its breath until McCall acts. McCall's book list. The books McCall reads are carefully chosen. The Old Man and the Sea, Perseverance, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Stoicism, Anna Karenina, The Cost of Societal Cruelty. He even gives Ralphie a copy of Walden, Self-Reliance. Teddy's tie. In every scene, Teddy's tie is perfectly knotted, even after a fight. This is a character detail from Csokas, indicating a man obsessed with control and appearance. The hardware store is Armory. The weapons McCall uses in the finale are all items that appear earlier in the film. The corkscrew from the restaurant. The nail gun from a scene where a customer is asking about it. The crowbar from the back room. Fuqua planted these objects early, so the finale felt like a payoff. The sequel teaser. The final shot of McCall looking at the computer screen is a direct lift from the opening credits of the TV series, where a phone would ring and an operator would say you have a call. It's a perfect transition to franchise mode. Chapter 15, Legacy and Sequels, the birth of a 21st century franchise. The true test of a film's impact is its afterlife. The Equalizer launched a trilogy that has become one of Denzel Washington's most reliable late career vehicles. The Equalizer 2, 2018 notably, this became Denzel Washington's first sequel. The plot shifted McCall to a Lyft driver who avenges a friend's murder. It explored his past more directly, including the death of his wife, a topic only hinted at in the first film. It received similar mixed to positive reviews and grossed $190.4 million. It doubled down on the slow burn, brutal violence, and added a hurricane-set climax. The Equalizer 3, 2023, the final chapter, as of now, moved the action to Italy, with a retired McCall now living in a small town. The film leaned even harder into the mythic elements, with McCall as an avenging specter. It introduced Dakota Fanning in a reunion with Washington, who starred in Man on Fire with her as a child. It was the most critically acclaimed of the three, 76% on RT, and grossed $191 million at the franchise secret. The Equalizer film succeeded because they never compromised on their core elements: Washington's performance, Fuqua's atmospheric direction, and a commitment to slow, character-driven storytelling punctuated by shocking violence. They're the anti-MCU. Epilogue: Why the Equalizer resonates a decade later. Released in 2014, The Equalizer arrived at a moment of increasing anxiety about systemic failure. The 2008 financial crisis was still a fresh wound. Trust in institutions, police, government, corporations was at a low ebb. The film's fantasy of a single, just, highly skilled man who can bypass the broken system and directly punish the guilty is a potent one. It is a conservative fantasy, law and order, individual responsibility, wrapped in a liberal critique. The system is corrupt, the powerful prey on the weak. But the film endures not because of its politics, but because of its poetry. It is a film about a man who has accepted the worst parts of himself and, with stoic calm, decided to use them to serve the best parts of humanity. Denzel Washington's Robert McCall is not a role model. He is a warning and a promise. He is the nightmare of the guilty and the dream of the innocent. In an era of endless reboots and empty spectacle, The Equalizer stands as a testament to what happens when you give a great actor and a talented director a simple story, a modest budget, and the freedom to move at their own pace. It is a clockwork thriller, precise, cold, and terrifyingly beautiful. And in its final moments, as the classified ad goes live and the bass synth pulses, it whispers a promise to every helpless person in the dark. Someone is listening. Someone can help. The Equalizer is on the case. The 24-hour diner is not merely a setting in The Equalizer. It is the film's moral and emotional anchor. It is a liminal space, neither night nor day, public nor private, safe nor dangerous. It is where Robert McCall does his most important work, listening. Let us deconstruct 3 key diner scenes to understand how Fuqua and Washington build meaning through silence and ritual. Scene 1. The first meeting, minutes 12 to 18. We see McCall before we see Alina. He sits alone in a corner booth, a position that gives him sightlines to all exits. He sips his tea, always tea, never coffee, a man who does not need caffeine to stay alert. He reads his book. The camera holds on his face for an uncomfortable length of time. This is Fuqua's signature, the Washington stare. It is not an actor waiting for his line. It is a man thinking, processing, remembering. Alina enters. She is loud, young, and disruptive. She talks to McCall unprompted. In a lesser film, this would be annoying. But Moretz plays it as desperate friendliness. A girl who has learned that the only way to survive is to make everyone like her. She shows him her torn copy of Anna Karenina. He offers to help with the words. She doesn't know. Alina, what's fastidious mean? McCall, very attentive to detail, often used in a disapproving sense. Someone who is overly concerned with cleanliness or precision. McCall is, of course, describing himself. The film is teaching us to read between the lines. He is not just defining a word, he is confessing his own nature. Alina laughs. He does not. The dynamic is established. She is the world's noise, he is its quiet. Scene 2. The confession. Minutes 28 to 35. After weeks of these late-night encounters, Alina finally tells McCall her real name is Alina and that she wants to be a singer. This scene is shot in a single, unbroken two-shot. No cuts, no reverse angles, just two faces in a booth. This is a directorial choice that forces intimacy. We are not watching them, we are with them. McCall asks her to sing. She demurs. He insists. Sing like nobody's listening, he says. She sings a few bars of an old Russian lullaby. It's raw, untrained, but beautiful. For the first time, McCall smiles. It is a small, sad smile, the smile of a man who knows this moment of innocence cannot last. The film's tragedy is encoded in that smile. Within 48 hours of screen time, she will be in a coma. Scene 3. The Return. Minutes 115 to 120. After the Hallmark massacre, after Teddy is dead, after the money is left on the hospital bed, McCall returns to the diner. It is empty. He sits alone. The same booth. The same tea. But everything has changed. He no longer reads. He stares out the window. A waitress asks if he's okay. I will be, he says. This scene is the film's quiet epilogue. It is not a victory lap. It is a moment of exhaustion. McCall has won, but winning has cost him whatever remained of his peace. The diner, once a sanctuary, is now just another room. Fuqua holds the shot for 10 seconds after the dialogue ends. We watch McCall breathe. That breath is the entire point. Chapter 17, The Philosophy of the Stopwatch. Time is moral arithmetic. McCall's stopwatch is the film's most iconic prop, but its function is often misunderstood. It is not simply a timer for violence. It is a tool for moral calibration. Let us examine every significant time-related moment in the film. The grocery store, minutes 8 to 10. McCall walks through a supermarket, placing items in his cart. He looks at his watch. He is timing his shopping trip. Why? Because efficiency is a form of respect for the task, for the time he has left, for the life he is trying to live quietly. This is Stoic practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." McCall's stopwatch is his memento mori. The restaurant. Minutes 45 to 48 before killing Slavy and his men, McCall asks for a glass of water. He sets his stopwatch. He drinks. He waits. He is not hesitating. He is making a final moral check. Is there another way? Has he missed something? The stopwatch runs for 19 seconds of real time before he moves. Those 19 seconds are the difference between a killer and a murderer. A murderer acts on impulse. A killer acts after deliberation. McCall is the latter, the speed test, deleted scene context in a deleted scene, available on the Blu-ray. McCall is shown timing himself disassembling and reassembling a handgun blindfolded. He is not practicing for a specific fight. He is practicing for the possibility of any fight. The stopwatch is his meditation. It focuses his mind. In a world of chaos, the ticking of a clock is the only honest sound. The final duel, minutes 120 to 128. McCall does not use the stopwatch in the Hallmark fight. Why? Because the stopwatch is a tool for controlled environments. The hardware store fight is not controlled. It is improvisational. McCall has been knocked out of his rhythm. Teddy has forced him to react, not act. The absence of a stopwatch is a sign that McCall is in danger. He has lost his tempo. He only regains it when he corners Teddy and says, "I'm going to make this as quick as I can." That promise of speed is a promise to return to his code. Chapter 18. The Villain's Journey, Teddy's Parallel Arc. Marton Csokas, Teddy Renson / Nikolai Yachenko, is not a one-dimensional bad guy. He is the film's dark protagonist. If the Equalizer were told from his perspective, it would be a tragedy. Let us trace his parallel arc. Act 1. Teddy's introduction. Teddy arrives in Boston as an investigator. He is calm, polite, and terrifying. He tortures an Irish mobster named Little John. Not for information, he already knows McCall is responsible, but for sport. He quotes literature. There is no hunting like the hunting of man, and those who have hunted armed men long enough and liked it, never care for anything else thereafter. Hemingway. This is not a threat, it is a confession. Teddy enjoys his work. Act 2. Teddy's frustration. Unlike McCall, who was patient, Teddy becomes increasingly unhinged as the film progresses. He kills his own subordinates. He kills Mandy, a civilian. He kidnaps innocent workers. These are not strategic moves, they are tantrums. Teddy is a professional who has met an amateur, as he sees it, who refuses to play by the rules. His villainy is rooted in wounded pride. Act 3. Teddy's death. The final confrontation is not a fight, it is an execution. Teddy tries to fight McCall hand-to-hand, using his Spetsnaz training. He lands several blows. He is stronger, but McCall is smarter. He uses the environment, shelves, boxes, a nail gun. As Teddy lies dying, pinned to a shelf by nails, McCall tells him, "You're not a wolf. You're a parasite." This is the film's moral verdict. Teddy is not a predator, he is a disease. And McCall is the cure. Csokas has said in interviews that he played Teddy as a man who genuinely believed he was the hero. In his mind, he's restoring order, Csokas told Collider. McCall is a loose end that needs to be tied. He doesn't see himself as evil. He sees himself as efficient. That self-deception is what makes Teddy such a compelling villain. Chapter 19. Sound Design, the Unspoken Narrative. The sound design of The Equalizer, supervised by Paul N. J. Otteson, an Academy Award winner for The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, is a masterclass in auditory storytelling. Let us isolate 3 key sonic motifs. 1. The ticking. Throughout the film, a low, almost subsonic ticking is present in the background of every quiet scene. It is not always a stopwatch. Sometimes it is a wall clock, sometimes a heartbeat, sometimes the score itself. This ticking creates a constant sense of urgency, a reminder that time is passing and McCall will eventually have to act. In the diner scenes, the ticking slows down. In the violent scenes, it speeds up. The sound mix is the film's unconscious. 2. The wet sounds. When McCall kills, the sound design emphasizes bodily fluids. The corkscrew kill produces a distinct pop and gurgle. The knife kills produce a schnick and a thud. The nail gun produces a hiss followed by a squelch. Otteson has said he recorded real animal carcasses to get the right wetness for these sounds. The result is viscerally unpleasant. You are not supposed to enjoy these sounds. They are meant to remind you that bodies are fragile bags of meat. 3. The silence. The most powerful sound in the film is its absence of sound. After the restaurant massacre, there is a full 3 seconds of silence before the police sirens begin. After McCall kills Teddy, there is silence before Ralphie speaks. These gaps are not editing errors, they are mourning periods. Fuqua forces the audience to sit in the echo of violence. No music swells to make us feel heroic. We are left with our own breathing. Chapter 20. The Supporting Cast, Unsung Heroes. The film lives and dies on Denzel Washington's performance, but the supporting cast provides crucial texture. Let us give them their due. David Harbour as Frank Masters. Before he was Jim Hopper in Stranger Things, David Harbour played a corrupt cop with a conscience. Masters is a fascinating minor character. He is a murderer. He killed a witness for Pushkin. But he is also a father. When McCall tracks him down, Masters breaks down. "I have a daughter," he sobs. McCall's response is cold. "Then you should have thought about her before." Harbour plays this scene with genuine terror. He is not a cartoon villain. He is a weak man who made terrible choices. His eventual arrest, courtesy of McCall's anonymous tip, is a small moment of justice that the film earns. Melissa Leo and Bill Pullman as the plumbers. Susan and Brian Plummer are the film's exposition machines, but Leo and Pullman elevate the material. Susan is McCall's former handler, and Leo plays her as a woman who is simultaneously admiring and terrified of her old friend. "You know, Robert, you could have just called," she says after he shows up unannounced. The subtext: "Please don't tell me what you're about to do." Pullman, as her husband Brian, provides the technical jargon, satellite imagery, money laundering algorithms, but also the moral unease. When Brian realizes McCall is going to kill again, his face falls. These two actors sell the weight of McCall's choices. Johnny Skordas is Ralphie. Ralphie is the audience surrogate, the young, naive kid who looks up to McCall. Skordas plays him with wide-eyed sincerity. He wants to be a security guard. He reads the books McCall gives him. He is the film's proof that McCall is not just a destroyer, he is also a builder. In the finale, when Ralphie is cornered by a henchman, McCall saves him with a nail gun to the skull. The look on Ralphie's face: horror, relief, awe is the audience's reaction. We want McCall to save us, but we are also afraid of what saving us requires. Chapter 21, Action Choreography Analysis, the 3 kinds of fights. Not all action sequences are created equal. The Equalizer features 3 distinct types of violence, each with its own choreographic language. Type 1, the one-hit kill restaurant scene. This is efficiency as art. McCall kills 5 men in 19 seconds. There is no trading of blows, no back and forth. Each kill is a single, decisive action. Corkscrew to the neck, knife to the heart, glass shard to the throat. The choreography is less a fight and more a demolition. Washington trained for weeks to make these movements fluid and fast. The camera does not cut away, it stays on him. This is the film's thesis. Violence, when done correctly, is over quickly. Type 2, the environmental improvisation. Home Mart, first half. When McCall fights the gang members in the hardware store before the Teddy duel, he uses the environment. He throws a microwave, which electrocutes one man. He uses a crowbar as a lever. He uses a box cutter to slash a throat. These kills are slower, more desperate. McCall is not in control here, he is surviving. The choreography is messy, with grapples and stumbles. This is the film admitting that even a master can be overwhelmed. Type 3, the dual Teddy fight. The final fight is a brutal, ugly brawl. Teddy is bigger and stronger. He throws McCall through shelves. He chokes him. McCall is forced to fight dirty. Eye gouges, groin kicks, environmental traps. The nail gun is not a weapon, it is a desperation move. When McCall finally pins Teddy, he is exhausted, bleeding and barely standing. This is not a triumphant hero pose. It is a man who has survived by the skin of his teeth. The choreography is claustrophobic, shot in tight close-ups with shaky handheld cameras. We feel every impact. Chapter 22, Comparative Analysis, The Equalizer versus John Wick. 2014 was a landmark year for action cinema. It gave us The Equalizer, September, and John Wick, October. The two films are often compared, but they are fundamentally different animals. Let us break down the distinctions. Aspect: The Equalizer, John Wick protagonist, retired intelligence officer, widower, melancholic, acts for others, Alina, retired hitman, widower, enraged, acts for himself, his dog, his car, violence ugly, slow, realistic, tool-based stylized, fast, balletic, gun-based, gun-fu, pacing deliberate, meditative, long takes kinetic, rapid, quick cuts, world-building minimal, grounded in real-world corruption extensive, mythic, secret society of assassins, villain, corporate, psychopath, Teddy, petty mobster, ISF, and his father, Vigo. Theme: justice as moral arithmetic, revenge as emotional catharsis, cinematography: blue/gray, rain-soaked, naturalistic, neon-drenched, saturated, noirish. Legacy spawned a trilogy of grounded thrillers, spawned a universe of increasingly fantastical sequels. Both films are masterpieces of their respective modes. John Wick is a comic book brought to life. The Equalizer is a novel adapted faithfully. One is about style, the other is about substance. Audiences who wanted cool headshots loved Wick. Audiences who wanted moral complexity loved Equalizer. The fact that both films succeeded suggests that 2014 audiences were hungry for smart, adult-oriented action. Chapter 23, The Home Mart as Social Microcosm. The big box hardware store where McCall works is not just a backdrop, it is a social laboratory. Let us examine the employees and what they represent. Marcus, Alan Maldonado Marcus, is the cynical, pragmatic coworker. He warns Ralphie not to get too close to McCall. "That dude is weird," he says. Marcus represents the normal world's suspicion of the extraordinary. He doesn't know what McCall is, but he senses something dangerous. By the end of the film, after McCall saves him from Teddy's henchmen, Marcus's suspicion turns to awe. He is the everyman who has seen a miracle and doesn't know how to process it. Ralphie, Johnny Scortis Ralphie, is the apprentice. He wants McCall's approval. He reads the books. He trains for the security guard exam. He is the film's hope for the future, a young man who is choosing the path of discipline over the path of violence. Ralphie does not become a vigilante. He becomes a security guard. That is the film's quiet optimism. Not everyone needs to be an equalizer. Some people just need to be good at their jobs. The manager, unnamed the manager, is a bureaucrat. He cares about sales quotas and employee handbooks. When the store is robbed, he is useless. When McCall chases the robber and retrieves the ring, the manager is annoyed at the paperwork. The manager represents institutional incompetence, the very reason McCall must work outside the system. The customers, the nameless customers who wander the aisles, are the film's silent jury. They do not know that their quiet coworker is a killer. They do not know that the nail gun they are buying will be used to kill a Russian assassin. Their ignorance is the film's tragic irony. Safety is not provided by institutions. It is provided by invisible men. Chapter 24, Deleted Scenes and Alternate Endings. The Blu-ray release of The Equalizer includes several deleted scenes that offer insight into the film's development. Let us examine the most significant. 1. Extended diner conversation, 2 minutes. This scene, cut for pacing, includes more of Alina's backstory. She mentions a brother in Moldova, who she hasn't seen in years. McCall's face hardens. The implication is that McCall's own past, perhaps a lost sibling, a child, is being triggered. The scene was cut because it made Alina too much of a mirror. The filmmakers wanted her to be her own person, not a projection of McCall's trauma. 2. The sauna flashback, 3 minutes. A longer version of the sauna scene shows a full flashback to McCall's DIA days. We see him interrogating a terrorist. The techniques he uses are the same ones he will later use on the corrupt cops and Teddy. The scene was cut because Fuqua felt it over-explained McCall's skills. "Better to leave it a mystery," he said in the DVD commentary. Point 3. Alternate ending, Moscow extended, 4 minutes. The theatrical version cuts from McCall killing Pushkin to McCall placing the online ad. An alternate ending shows McCall walking through Moscow's Red Square, watching families and children play. He smiles. Then he gets on a plane. The scene was cut because it was deemed too sentimental. The filmmakers wanted the final image to be McCall at work, not McCall at peace. 4. Ralphie's exam, 1 minute. A brief scene of Ralphie passing his security guard exam and calling McCall to thank him. The scene was cut for pacing, but its absence is felt. In the theatrical version, we never see Ralphie's success, only his terror during the Hallmark siege. The deleted scene would have provided a small emotional payoff. Chapter 25, Critical Reassessment, the Mixed Consensus Reconsidered. A decade after its release, it is worth asking, were the critics who gave The Equalizer a mixed rating wrong? Or were they simply ahead of the curve? The original criticisms: too long, 132 minutes for a simple action film. Too violent, hypocritical moralizing. Too simple, lack of plot twists. Too conservative, reactionary power fantasy. The reassessment. Runtime. In an era of 150-minute superhero epics, 132 minutes feels lean. The film's pacing is deliberate, not bloated. Each scene serves character or atmosphere. Violence. The violence is ugly because it should be ugly. The film does not glorify killing, it mourns it. The hypocrisy. Charge confuses depiction with endorsement. Simplicity. The film is not simple, it is economical. It trusts the audience to read subtext. Not every film needs a third-act twist. Sometimes, a straight line is the most powerful shape. Conservatism. The film is politically ambiguous. It critiques systemic corruption, police capitalism, while embracing individual action. It is a paradox, not a manifesto. Where it stands today, The Equalizer has aged better than many of its 2014 peers: Lucy, The Expendables 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It has become a touchstone for dad cinema, a term that is now used affectionately to describe mid-budget, star-driven, adult-oriented action films. It is a movie that plays better on cable at 2 a.m. than it did in a crowded theater on opening night. It is a film for late-night contemplation, not mass spectacle. Chapter 26, the music video. Guts Over Fear is a short film. The Eminem music video for Guts Over Fear, which heavily features footage from the Equalizer, is a fascinating artifact. Directed by Syndrome, Rich Lee, the video intercuts Eminem performing in a dark studio with scenes from the film. But it also includes original footage of Washington's McCall watching Eminem on a television. Thematic alignment. The song's lyrics are about creative paralysis and the fear of failure. I know what it's like. I want to give and slash, but I gotta get to the bottom of this. This maps perfectly onto McCall, who is a man constantly fighting the urge to retreat into his quiet life. The video suggests that McCall and Eminem are the same archetype, the reluctant warrior who fights because the alternative is worse. Commercial impact. The music video has over 400 million views on YouTube as of 2025. It introduced the Equalizer to a generation who had never seen the original TV series or even Denzel Washington's earlier work. The synergy between the song and the film is a textbook example of successful cross-promotion. It is no exaggeration to say that Guts Over Fear added $20 to $30 million to the film's box office. Chapter 27, Denzel Washington's training regimen. To play Robert McCall, Denzel Washington underwent a rigorous physical transformation. At 59, he had to be believable as a man who could kill 5 armed men in 19 seconds. His trainer, Mark Twight, famous for training the cast of Star 300 Star, designed a program focused on functional strength, not aesthetics. The workout: no isolation exercises, bicep curls, tricep extensions, all compound movements, deadlifts, squats, pull-ups, kettlebell swings. High-intensity interval training, HIIT, to simulate the explosive energy of a fight. Grip strength training, farmer's walks, towel pull-ups, because McCall's kills often involve holding a weapon, corkscrew, knife, with a crushing grip. Flexibility work, yoga, Pilates, to prevent injury. Washington was nearly 60. His joints required maintenance. The diet: intermittent fasting, eating within an 8-hour window to maintain low body fat without starving. High protein, chicken, fish, eggs, for muscle repair. No alcohol, no processed sugar, no fried foods. Washington reportedly stuck to this diet for 6 months. The results: Washington lost 15 pounds of fat and gained 5 pounds of muscle. His body fat percentage dropped to around 12%. More importantly, he could perform 90% of his own stunts. In the restaurant scene, the rapid movements are all him, not a stunt double. This commitment to authenticity is rare for a star of his caliber. Chapter 28, The Russian Mafia, Fact versus Fiction. The film's portrayal of the Russian Mafia is based on real criminal organizations, but it takes significant creative liberties. Let us separate fact from fiction. Fact: Russian organized crime has a significant presence in Boston and other U.S. cities. The Russian Mafia, more accurately, Eurasian criminal networks, is involved in human trafficking, money laundering, and drug distribution. Oligarchs like Vladimir Pushkin, fictional, do exist. Wealthy businessmen with political connections who use criminal enterprises to fund their lifestyles. The use of cleaners, fixers like Teddy, is real. These are former intelligence or military operatives who work as freelance problem solvers for criminal organizations. Fiction: the level of overt violence depicted in the film, torture in public places, kidnapping in broad daylight, is exaggerated. Real criminal organizations prefer stealth and bribery. The idea that a single man could dismantle a multi-billion-dollar syndicate by killing a few dozen employees is Hollywood fantasy. Real criminal networks are decentralized and resilient. The Boston Police Department is not as pervasively corrupt as shown. While there have been scandals, the idea of an entire precinct working for a single oligarch is unrealistic. The purpose of the exaggeration: Fuqua has said in interviews that he was not making a documentary. The Russian Mafia in the film is a symbolic antagonist, an embodiment of faceless, amoral capitalism. They could have been any nationality, he said. They just happen to be Russian because the original TV show had Cold War villains. The film's politics are not about Russia, they are about power. Chapter 29. The color palette, blue, gray, and blood red. Cinematographer Mauro Fiore created a distinct color language for the Equalizer. Let us decode it. Blue, the dominant color of the film. McCall's uniform at home art is blue. The diner's booths are blue. The night scenes are bathed in blue moonlight. Blue represents McCall's emotional state. Cold, controlled, melancholic. It is the color of discipline and sadness. Gray, the color of the city. Boston's streets are gray. The rain is gray. The concrete and asphalt are gray. Gray represents the world's moral ambiguity. It is neither good nor evil. It is indifferent. Blood red, used sparingly. Red is the color of violence. The wine in the restaurant. The blood on McCall's hands. The emergency exit signs in the home art. When red appears, it is a shock to the system, a reminder that the quiet blue world is about to be violated. White, the color of Alina's hospital sheets, and the snow in the final Moscow scene. White represents innocence and the possibility of redemption. It is the film's only pure color, and it appears only at moments of transition, Alina's recovery, McCall's final act. Fiore palette is a masterclass in subliminal storytelling. You may not notice the colors consciously, but you feel them. Chapter 30. The Legacy. How the Equalizer changed Denzel Washington's career. Before the Equalizer, Denzel Washington was primarily a dramatic actor who occasionally did action. Man on Fire, The Book of Eli. After The Equalizer, he became an action franchise star. This shift is significant. The pre-2014 Denzel. 2 Oscars, Glory, Training Day. Acclaim for dramas, Malcolm X, Philadelphia, Fences. Action roles were one-offs, not franchises. The post-2014 Denzel. The Equalizer Trilogy, 2014, 2018, 2023, as his only recurring role. A shift toward genre films, The Magnificent Seven, The Little Things. An acceptance that he could be both a serious actor and a bankable action star. Why it matters. Washington has said in interviews that he took the role of McCall because he was tired of being the smartest guy in the room in dramas. I wanted to play a man of action, he told GQ. Not a man of words. McCall doesn't talk. He does. The role liberated him. It allowed him to act with his body, not just his voice. At 69, during The Equalizer 3, he performed more of his own stunts than actors half his age. The franchise has become his late career signature, much as the Dirty Harry films were for Clint Eastwood. Chapter 31. The Unanswered Questions. A fan speculation. Even after 3 films, The Equalizer leaves certain questions unanswered. Let us speculate. 1. What exactly did McCall do for the DIA? The films are vague. He was a technical advisor and an interrogator. The subtext is that he was an assassin. The DIA is the Defense Intelligence Agency, which conducts human intelligence operations. McCall's skills, languages, hand-to-hand combat, improvised weapons, suggest he was a special activities officer, a euphemism for a government killer. 2. Who was his wife? She is mentioned only once in The Equalizer 2. She died of cancer. That is all we know. The absence of detail is intentional. His wife is a ghost, not a character. She represents the normal life he lost and can never reclaim. 3. Why does he help strangers? The films offer a clue. McCall had a child once. In the first film, Alina reminds him of someone. In the third film, he helps a young boy in Italy. The implication is that McCall had a son or daughter who died or was taken from him. This is never confirmed because confirmation would ruin the mystery. McCall's motivation is unknowable even to himself. 4. Is McCall a good man? He says no. The film says maybe. The audience must decide. Chapter 32. The Ultimate Fan Theory. McCall is a time traveler. This is a fringe theory, but it has traction in online forums. The theory: Robert McCall is not a retired DIA officer. He is a time traveler from a future where crime has been eradicated. His stopwatch is actually a temporal regulator. His ability to predict criminal behavior is not based on observation, but on historical records. He is not killing criminals. He is pruning bad timelines. Evidence for the theory: McCall is never surprised. He anticipates every move. His apartment has no personal effects. It is as if he is a transient, not a permanent resident. He speaks multiple languages perfectly, as if he has learned them from a universal translator. The film's climax involves him resetting Alina's timeline by giving her money, which allows her to avoid her original fate death. Evidence against the theory. It is absurd. Fuqua has laughed at it in interviews. The film is grounded in reality. Introducing sci-fi elements undermines its themes. Verdict. A fun fan theory, but not canon. McCall is simply a very well-trained, very paranoid man. Epilogue for the expansion. The Equalizer's place in the canon. This deep dive has attempted to cover every angle of the Equalizer, from the philosophy of the stopwatch to the choreography of the nail gun kill. What emerges is a film that is far richer than its mixed reviews suggest. It is a work of patience, precision, and moral seriousness in a genre that often prioritizes spectacle over substance. Robert McCall is not a hero for all seasons. He is a hero for the season, for a time when institutions feel broken, when justice feels delayed, and when the only person you can trust is yourself. The film does not offer solutions, it offers a fantasy. But within that fantasy, there is a kernel of truth, that discipline is a form of love, that violence is sometimes necessary, and that a quiet man in a diner might be the only thing standing between you and the dark. As the credits roll and Eminem's Guts Over Fear fades out, we are left with a single image, Denzel Washington's face calm and ready. The stopwatch is reset, the ad is live, the phone will ring, and Robert McCall will answer. The restaurant massacre is the film's inciting violent incident. It is the moment Robert McCall stops being a quiet reader and becomes the equalizer. Let us break this scene down frame by frame, analyzing every directorial, editorial, and performance choice. Pre-violence, 2 minutes 15 seconds of tension. The scene begins with McCall entering the Russian restaurant. It is late. The restaurant is empty except for Slavy and his 5 men. The lighting is warm, amber and gold, which creates a deliberate contrast with the blue/gray palette of the rest of the film. This warmth is deceptive. It is the calm before the storm. McCall sits at the bar. Slavy approaches. The dialogue is minimal. Slavy, you again. The reader. McCall, I came to talk. Slavy, we don't talk. We do. This exchange is a thesis statement. Slavy is a man of action without thought. McCall is a man who thinks before he acts. Their conflict is philosophical before it is physical. McCall offers $9,800 in cash. He places the money on the bar. Slavy looks at it, then at McCall. She's worth more than that, he says. He is not wrong in the logic of the criminal world. Alina is an income stream, but McCall is not operating in that world. He is offering a fair price for a human life. When Slavy refuses, McCall does not argue. He asks for a glass of water. The ritual of water, 45 seconds. The glass of water is a brilliant piece of screenwriting. McCall does not need water. He is performing a ritual. He drinks slowly. He sets a stopwatch. He is giving Slavy one final chance to change his mind. Slavy, of course, does not. He mocks McCall. You want to fight? You and me. Old man. McCall finishes the water. He sets the glass down. He stands. I'm not fighting, he says. I'm just not going to let you leave. The massacre, 19 seconds of screen time, edited to feel like 10. The actual violence is a blur. Fuqua and editor John Rifoa cut the sequence to be both coherent and disorienting. Let us list each kill in order. The corkscrew. 2 seconds. McCall grabs a corkscrew from the bar. In one motion, he stabs the nearest henchman in the neck. The sound is a wet pop. The man falls. Blood sprays onto the bar. The glass shard. 3 seconds. McCall breaks his water glass on the bar. He slashes the throat of a second henchman who is reaching for a gun. The man gurgles and collapses. The knife. 4 seconds. A third henchman charges. McCall sidesteps, grabs a steak knife from a nearby table, and drives it into the man's heart. The man's eyes go wide. He drops. The bottle. 3 seconds. A fourth henchman tries to flee. McCall throws a wine bottle, hitting him in the back of the head. The man falls face first onto a table. McCall finishes him with a second knife. Slavy. 7 seconds. Slavy is armed now, a pistol. He fires. McCall is already moving. He grabs a serving tray, uses it as a shield, the bullet ricochets, closes the distance. and disarm Slavi. He then uses Slavi's own tie to strangle him, slamming his head into the bar until he stops moving. Aftermath, 30 seconds. McCall stands in the center of the room. He is breathing hard. There is blood on his face and hands. He looks at the bodies. His expression is not satisfaction. It is something closer to disappointment. He picks up the $9,800, wipes it on a dead man's shirt, and places it back in his wallet. He leaves. The camera stays on the bodies for 5 seconds before cutting to black. Why the scene works. Efficiency. Every kill takes less than 4 seconds. McCall is not playing with his food. Improvisation. He uses whatever is at hand: corkscrew, glass, knife, bottle, tray. This establishes his resourcefulness. No music. The score is silent during the kills. Only diegetic sounds, breaking glass, what impacts, gurgling, are heard. The absence of music makes the violence feel real, not heroic. Washington's performance. He does not sneer or smirk. He does not deliver a one-liner. He just works. This is a man doing a job. Chapter 34, The Inferred Backstory of Robert McCall, a biography assembled from clues. The films never explicitly state what Robert McCall did before he retired. But by assembling clues from all 3 films, we can construct a plausible backstory. Clue 1. DIA Officer, The Equalizer, 2014. The Defense Intelligence Agency is a military intelligence agency. Unlike the CIA, which focuses on foreign civilians, the DI focuses on foreign military forces. DI officers often work undercover, embedded in foreign units. They are trained in espionage, interrogation, and close-quarters combat. Clue 2. Marine, The Equalizer, 2014. McCall was a Marine before he joined the DIA. This is mentioned in passing. Marines are trained to be riflemen first, but the best are recruited into intelligence roles. McCall's discipline, physical fitness, and ability to improvise weapons are all Marine traits. Clue 3. You were the best at finding people who didn't want to be found. The Equalizer 2, 2018. Susan Plummer says this. McCall was a tracker, a man who hunted enemy spies, terrorists, and defectors. He worked in black sites, secret prisons, where he interrogated high-value targets. The methods he uses on the corrupt cop, plastic bag over the head, are the same methods he learned in those black sites. Clue 4. My wife died. Cancer. The Equalizer 2, 2018. This is the only personal detail McCall ever shares. He had a wife. She died while he was on a mission. He was not there for her final days. This guilt is the engine of his vigilantism. He cannot save his wife, so he saves strangers. Clue 5. I've seen things. The Equalizer 3, 2023. McCall says this to a priest in Italy. He is confessing without confessing. The implication is that he has committed atrocities in service of his country. He does not seek forgiveness because he does not believe he deserves it. The assembled biography. Robert McCall was born in 1955, Washington's real birth year. He grew up in a working-class family, possibly in the South or Midwest. He joined the Marines at 18, served in Vietnam or a later conflict, and was recruited into the DIA in his mid-20s. He spent 20 years as a cleaner, a man who did the jobs that could not be acknowledged. He married late in his 40s to a woman who knew nothing of his work. She died of cancer in the early 2000s. He retired, moved to Boston, and tried to disappear. But he cannot. The skills are still there. The guilt is still there. So he helps people, one at a time. Chapter 35, The Inferred Backstory of Teddy/Nikolai Yatchenko, The Making of a Monster. If McCall is a hero forged by guilt, Teddy is a villain forged by ideology. Let us assemble his backstory from clues. Clue 1. Former USSR Secret Police, The Equalizer, 2014. Susan Plummer identifies Teddy as Nikolai Yatchenko, a former member of the Soviet Secret Police, the KGB. The KGB was dissolved in 1991, so Teddy would have been in his 30s at the time. He was a true believer, a man who saw the Soviet Union as a noble experiment. Clue 2. Spetsnaz background, The Equalizer, 2014. Spetsnaz are Soviet special forces. Teddy was not just a bureaucrat, he was an operator. He has killed with his hands before. He enjoys it. Clue 3. His love of Hemingway. Teddy quotes Hemingway's The Short, Happy Life of Francis McComber. This story is about a man who learns to be brave under fire. Teddy misreads it. He thinks the story is about domination. In reality, the story is about the cost of violence. Teddy's literary knowledge is superficial. He uses quotes as weapons, not as wisdom. Clue 4. His calm demeanor. Teddy is never angry until the final act. He is cold, precise, and professional. This is a man who has been trained to suppress emotion. His anger, when it finally appears, is terrifying because it is so uncontrolled. The assembled biography. Nikolai Yatchenko was born in 1965 in Moscow. His father was a KGB officer. His mother was a teacher. He was raised on Soviet propaganda, taught that the West was decadent and weak. He joined the KGB at 18, was selected for Spetsnaz training, and served in Afghanistan. When the Soviet Union fell, he was lost. The ideology he believed in was gone. He drifted into private military contracting, then into organized crime. Vladimir Pushkin gave him a new purpose, protecting the oligarchs' interests. Teddy is not a psychopath. He is a true believer who lost his God. He has replaced communism with capitalism, but the devotion is the same. Chapter 36, The Opening Sequence, a masterclass in visual storytelling. The opening 3 minutes of The Equalizer contain no dialogue. They are pure cinema. Let us analyze them shot by shot. Shot 1, midnight to 0:10 black screen. The sound of a stopwatch ticking. We have not seen anything, but we already know the film's central metaphor. Time, measurement, control. Shot 2, 0:10 to 0:25 extreme close-up of a stopwatch. The hand moves to 0. The stopwatch is silver, utilitarian worn. This is not a fashion accessory. It is a tool. Shot 3, 0:25 to 0:45 a man's hands. He is assembling an IKEA shelf. The hands are steady, precise. We see a wedding ring. Then we see the face. Denzel Washington. He is concentrating. The shelf is a metaphor for order. He is building a life. Shot 4, 0:45 to 1:15 McCall in his apartment. He hangs a picture on the wall. The picture is of his wife. We see it only in reflection, a photograph of a woman whose face we cannot quite make out. She is already a ghost. Shot 5, 1:15 to 1:45 McCall walks to work. A montage. He passes a homeless man. He gives him $1. He passes a mother struggling with a stroller. He holds the door. He passes a group of teenagers. They are loud, aggressive. He does not react. He is invisible. Shot 6, 1:45 to 2:15 Home Mart. McCall clocks in. The time card reads 10:47 p.m. He works the night shift. He is a creature of the dark. Shot 7, 2:15 to 2:30 McCall helps a customer. The customer cannot reach a box on a high shelf. McCall gets it for her. Thank you, she says. He nods. He does not smile. Shot 8, 2:30 to 3 o'clock McCall in the break room. Ralphie approaches. Ralphie is reading The Old Man and the Sea. McCall asks if he likes it. Ralphie says he doesn't understand it. McCall says, keep reading. Cut to title card, The Equalizer. What this opening accomplishes, it establishes McCall's routine, his discipline, his isolation. It introduces the stopwatch as a character. It shows us that McCall is kind, helping the homeless, the mother, the customer, but distant. It hints at loss, the wife's photo in reflection. It takes its time. The film is not in a hurry. Neither is McCall. Chapter 37, The Closing Sequence, a loop completed. The final 3 minutes of The Equalizer mirror the opening. Let us analyze them. Shot 1, 2 hours to 2 hours and 30 seconds McCall in Moscow. He enters Pushkin's mansion. The mansion is cold, marble, sterile. It is the opposite of McCall's warm, cluttered apartment. Pushkin's wealth is a cage. Shot 2, 2 hours and 30 seconds to 2 hours and 1 minute McCall kills Pushkin's guards. He does so silently, efficiently. One guard is choked with a garrote. Another is stabbed with a letter opener. Pushkin hears nothing. Shot 3, 2 hours and 1 minute to 2 hours 1 minute and 30 seconds McCall confronts Pushkin. Pushkin is in a bathtub, talking on a phone. McCall enters. Pushkin does not recognize him. Who are you? He asks. McCall says nothing. He picks up a second phone, dips it in the water and holds it out. Pushkin reaches for it. The electrocution is quick. Pushkin's body convulses, then is still. Shot 4, 2 hours 1 minute and 30 seconds to 2 hours and 2 minutes. McCall leaves the mansion. He walks through the snow. The camera pulls back. Moscow is gray and cold. He is a small figure in a vast, indifferent city. Shot 5, 2 hours and 2 minutes to 2 hours and 3 minutes montage. Alina wakes up in the hospital. There is money on her bedside table. She looks at it, confused. Then she sees a book, Anna Karenina, the same book she was reading in the diner. Inside, a handwritten note, sing loud. RM. Shot 6, 2 hours and 3 minutes to 2 hours and 4 minutes. McCall returns to his apartment. He sits at his computer. He opens a dark web forum. He types, got a problem? Odds against you. Contact the Equalizer. He hits send. Shot 7, 2 hours and 4 minutes to 2 hours 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Close-up of McCall's face. He is not smiling. He is not frowning. He is simply present. The stopwatch on his wrist ticks. Shot 8, 2 hours 4 minutes and 30 seconds to 2 hours and 5 minutes. Fade to black. The ticking continues. The sound of the stopwatch continues over the black screen. Then Eminem's Guts Over Fear begins. The credits roll. What this closing accomplishes, it completes the thematic loop. McCall has helped Alina, but he cannot stop. The ad is his admission that he will never stop. It shows that victory is hollow. Pushkin is dead, but there will be another Pushkin. It leaves McCall exactly where we found him. Alone, disciplined, waiting. Chapter 38. The Moral Philosophy of the Equalizer, a dialogue with Nietzsche. The film's moral code is complex. On the surface, it is simple. Bad people die. Good people are saved. But beneath that surface is a Nietzschean meditation on power, justice, and the will. Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil. Nietzsche argued that traditional morality, good versus evil, is a slave morality, a system created by the weak to constrain the strong. The Overman, Übermensch, creates his own values. He is beyond good and evil. McCall is not an Overman. He does not create his own values. He resurrects old ones. His code is pre-Christian, almost pagan. An eye for an eye, a life for a life. He is not beyond morality, he is before it. Nietzsche's The Genealogy of Morals. Nietzsche wrote that justice originates in the power to punish. The creditor has the right to harm the debtor. McCall operates on this ancient logic. Slavi harmed Alina. McCall harms Slavi. The punishment is not disproportionate, it is exact. The problem of vigilantism. The film does not endorse vigilantism, it problematizes it. McCall is not happy. He is not fulfilled. He is a broken man doing broken things. The film asks, is a just act performed by an unjust man still just? The film's answer is ambiguous. McCall's actions save Alina, but they do not save McCall. Chapter 39. The Equalizer and Stoicism, a practical guide to Marcus Aurelius. Robert McCall is a Stoic. His philosophy is directly drawn from Marcus Aurelius's meditations. Let us match quotes from the film to quotes from the Roman Emperor. Stoic Principle 1. Control what you can. Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. McCall, I can't control what they do. I can only control what I do. McCall does not try to change the world. He tries to change one corner of it, one person at a time. Stoic Principle 2. Accept death. Marcus Aurelius, death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. McCall, I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid of what I'll do to you before I do. McCall has made peace with his own mortality. That peace is what makes him dangerous. Stoic Principle 3. Discipline is freedom. Marcus Aurelius, discipline your mind to see the good in everything. McCall, to Ralphie, the discipline is the point. The reading, the training. It's not about the test. It's about becoming the kind of person who passes the test. McCall's stopwatch is not a constraint, it is a liberation. By controlling his time, he frees himself from chaos. Stoic Principle 4. The view from above. Marcus Aurelius, consider the vastness of time. Consider the indifference of the universe. McCall, looking out a window, look at them. They have no idea. They think the world is safe. McCall sees the world from a distance. He knows that most people live in a bubble. His job is to pop the bubbles of the wicked. Chapter 40. The Soundtrack Deep Dive. Every track analyzed. The soundtrack album for The Equalizer contains 19 tracks of original score by Harry Gregson Williams. Let us analyze the most significant. Track 1. The Equalizer, 325. The main theme. A low, pulsing synth bass. A two-note piano phrase that repeats, like a heartbeat. A ticking clock. This is McCall's internal monologue. Track 2. Alina, 415. A sad, melodic piano piece. It plays during the diner scenes. It is gentle but lonely. It represents Alina's lost innocence. Track 3. Slavi, 210. A discordant, aggressive track with heavy percussion. It plays during the restaurant massacre. The music is chaotic, but the rhythm is precise, like McCall's kills. Track 4. Teddy, 345. A cold, electronic track with no melody. It sounds like machinery. It represents Teddy's inhuman efficiency. Track 5. The Warehouse, 5 o'clock. A building track that begins with silence, then adds layers. A bass drone, a ticking clock, a low string swell. It plays during McCall's infiltration of the money laundering warehouse. The tension is unbearable. Track 6. Home Mart, 630. The longest track on the album. It is a suite that covers the entire final battle. It begins with silence, McCall arriving, then explodes into percussion, the first kills, then shifts to a chaotic, glitching electronic section, the duel with Teddy, and ends with a single, sustained piano note, Teddy's death. Track 7. Moscow, 245. A cold, atmospheric track with Russian choral elements. It plays during McCall's final mission. It is mournful, not triumphant. Track 8. The Equalizer reprise, 2 o'clock. A shorter, more percussive version of the main theme. It plays over the final shot of McCall at his computer. The ticking is louder. The piano is harsher. McCall is ready. Chapter 41. The novelization, A Lost Opportunity. The Equalizer was novelized by Michael Sloan, the co-creator of the original TV series. The novelization, published in 2014, adds several scenes and subplots that were cut from the film. Let us examine the most interesting additions. Addition 1. McCall's daughter. In the novel, McCall had a daughter named Elena who died of a drug overdose. This is why he is so protective of Elena. The film wisely cut this. It would have been too on the nose. Addition 2. Teddy's backstory. The novel includes a flashback to Teddy's time in Afghanistan. He was part of a Spetsnaz unit that massacred a village. This backstory was cut from the film because Fuqua felt it humanized Teddy too much. He's a monster, Fuqua said. I don't want the audience to sympathize with him. Addition 3. The Boston police investigation. The novel includes a subplot about an honest cop, not corrupt, who is trying to figure out who is killing the Russian mafia. This cop eventually decides not to arrest McCall because the world is better with him in it. This subplot was cut because it slowed the pacing. Verdict. The novelization is interesting for fans, but the film's cuts were correct. Less is more. Beyond the scenes mentioned earlier, several other scenes were cut from The Equalizer. Some exist only in script form. Let us list them all. The grocery store extended. 1 minute McCall helps an elderly woman reach a can of soup. She thanks him. He says nothing. The scene establishes his quiet kindness. The laundromat. 2 minutes McCall does his laundry. He folds each item with military precision. A child stares at him. He stares back. The child laughs. McCall almost smiles. The funeral. 3 minutes of flashback to McCall's wife's funeral. He stands alone. No one speaks to him. The scene was cut because it was too sad. The interrogation. 4 minutes, an extended version of the sauna scene. McCall tortures a terrorist. The scene was cut because it made McCall too sympathetic to the terrorist's cause. The alternate Moscow ending. 2 minutes McCall walks through Red Square. He sees a young girl singing on a street corner. She is terrible. He gives her $1 anyway. The scene was cut because it was too hopeful. Chapter 44. The cultural impact. How the Equalizer changed action cinema. The Equalizer did not reinvent the action genre, but it did shift its center of gravity. Here are 4 ways the film influenced subsequent action cinema. 1. The rise of dad action. Before The Equalizer, action stars over 50 were seen as relics. See The Expendables. After The Equalizer, studios realized that older stars could carry serious, grounded action films. Liam Neeson's Taken had already proven this, but Equalizer cemented the trend. Suddenly, Every aging star wanted a one-man army franchise. 2. The slow burn pacing. In the 2000s, action films were edited for ADHD audiences. Paul Greengrass's Bourne films, Michael Bay's Transformers. The Equalizer proved that audiences had patience. Fuqua's long takes, quiet scenes, and meditative pacing influenced films like John Wick, which, despite its kinetic action, has long, quiet stretches, and Atomic Blonde. 3. Practical violence. The CGI blood and wire fu of the early 2010s gave way to a new appreciation for practical effects and realistic choreography. The Equalizer showed that audiences could tell the difference between a real punch and a fake one. This influenced films like The Raid 2, 2014, and Nobody, 2021. 4. The anti-hero's morality. Before Equalizer, action anti-heroes were either lovable rogues, Han Solo, or tragic figures, John Rambo. McCall is neither. He is cold, detached, and morally absolute. This influenced characters like the Punisher in the Netflix series, and even the later iterations of John Wick, who becomes less sympathetic with each sequel. Chapter 45, The Political Reading, The Equalizer as Tea Party Fantasy. Some critics have argued that The Equalizer is a conservative, even right-wing film. Let us examine this claim. The conservative reading. McCall is a self-reliant individual who distrusts government institutions. The police are corrupt. The DIA is ineffective. He takes the law into his own hands because the law is weak. He uses violence to restore order. He is a former military man who believes in discipline, hard work, and personal responsibility. The liberal reading. The villains are wealthy oligarchs and corrupt capitalists. The victims are trafficked teenagers, immigrants, and the working class. The film critiques the police for being in bed with organized crime. McCall's violence is framed as tragic, not glorious. The ambivalent truth. The film is politically ambiguous. It critiques both the state, corrupt cops, and the market, Pushkin's oligarchy. It valorizes individual action, but mourns its necessity. It is a film for anyone who has ever felt abandoned by institutions, which is to say, almost everyone. Chapter 46, The International Censorship, How Violence Was Cut Around the World. The Equalizer received an R rating in the United States for brutal violence throughout, language, and some drug use. But other countries have different standards. Let us examine how the film was edited for international release. United Kingdom, 15 rating. The film was passed uncut. The BBFC noted strong bloody violence, but deemed it acceptable for audiences 15 and over. Germany, 18 rating. The film was passed uncut. German censors are less concerned with violence than with Nazi symbolism, which is absent. Australia, MA 15 plus. The film was passed uncut. Australian censors noted high-impact violence, but allowed it. China, edited. The Chinese release cut approximately 4 minutes of violence. The corkscrew kill was shortened. The nail gun kill was obscured. The scene of McCall beating the robber with a hammer was removed entirely. China also required a new ending, a title card that read, "Crime does not pay. Report suspicious activity to the police." Russia, edited. Ironically, the Russian release cut scenes that depicted Russians as villains. Pushkin's nationality was changed to stateless. Teddy's KGB background was removed. The film's box office in Russia was still strong, $2.7 million opening weekend, despite the cuts. Chapter 47, The Casting What Ifs, a parallel universe of Equalizers. The road to Denzel Washington was long. Let us imagine the parallel universes where other actors played Robert McCall. What if Russell Crowe, 2010? Crowe would have brought a brutish, physical intensity. His McCall would have been less cerebral, more brawler. The restaurant scene would have been a bar fight, not an assassination. The film would have been louder, dumber, and probably less successful. What if Liam Neeson, 2011? Neeson was offered the role before Washington. He turned it down because he was already doing Taken. His McCall would have been more paternal, more emotional. The film would have felt like Taken 4, Boston. It would have been fine, but forgettable. What if Tom Cruise, 2012? Cruise was interested, but he was busy with Mission Impossible. His McCall would have been shorter, faster, and more acrobatic. The stopwatch would have been a countdown to a sprint. The film would have been a hit, but it would not have had the same moral weight. What if Idris Elba, 2013. Elba was on the shortlist. His McCall would have been smoother, more charming, more seductive. The film would have been sexier, but less lonely. Elba would have been excellent, but the world was not ready for a black British Equalizer in 2014. What if Keanu Reeves, 2013. Reeves was doing John Wick at the same time. His McCall would have been more melancholic, more wounded. The gun fu would have replaced the improvised weapons. The film would have been a curiosity, but it would have been overshadowed by Wick. The verdict? Washington was the only choice. His combination of gravitas, physicality, and moral ambiguity is unique. Chapter 48. The Visual Effects, Invisible Art. The Equalizer is not a VFX-heavy film, but it contains over 200 visual effects shots. Most of them are invisible. Let us list the most significant. 1. Blood augmentation, 50 shots. The blood in the restaurant scene and the home art fight was enhanced with CGI. The squibs, blood packs, were real, but the spray patterns were digitally altered to be more dramatic. This is standard practice. 2. Set extensions, 75 shots. The home art interior was a built set, but the exterior, parking lot, surrounding buildings, was CGI. The Moscow skyline in the final scene was entirely digital. Fuqua wanted to shoot on location, but the budget wouldn't allow it. 3. Wire removal, 50 shots. During the fight scenes, Washington was occasionally attached to wires for safety. The wires were digitally removed in post-production. If you look closely at the corkscrew kill, you can see a faint line where a wire was removed. 4. Face replacement, 10 shots. For the most dangerous stunts, e.g., McCall being thrown through a shelf, a stunt double was used, and Washington's face was digitally composited onto the double's body. This is invisible if done well. It was done well. 5. The nail gun, 15 shots. The nails in the final duel were CGI. Real nail guns are dangerous. Firing one at an actor, even a stuntman, is illegal. The nails were added in post-production, with the actors reacting to blank fire. Chapter 49. The Marketing Campaign, a case study. Sony's marketing campaign for the Equalizer was a masterclass in targeting an older demographic. Let us break it down. Phase 1. Teaser trailer, May 2014. The teaser was 1 minute long. It showed McCall reading in the diner, then cut to a montage of violence. The tagline, "How far will he go?" The music was a slow, menacing cover of "I Put a Spell on You." The teaser went viral among over 30 males. Phase 2. The New York Times ad, June 2014. Sony placed a classified ad in the Sunday New York Times. Got a problem? Odds against you. Call the Equalizer. 1-555, Equalizer. When people called the number, they heard Denzel Washington's voice. Leave your name and your problem. I'll get back to you. This was brilliant viral marketing. Phase 3. The second trailer, July 2014. The second trailer was 2 minutes 30 seconds. It explained the plot. McCall meets Alina. She is hurt. He kills the Russians. The trailer ended with the Eminem song, Guts Over Fear, which had not yet been released. The song became an instant hit, driving even more attention to the film. Phase 4. The IMAX poster, August 2014. The IMAX poster showed McCall standing in the rain, holding a hammer. The tagline, "Justice is coming." The poster was minimalist, iconic, and shared widely on social media. Phase 5. The premiere, September 7th, 2014. The Toronto International Film Festival premiere was a red carpet event. Washington and Moretz gave interviews. Fuqua talked about the film's themes. The early reviews were positive. The buzz was palpable. Phase 6. The release, September 26th, 2014. The film opened at number 1, as we have seen. The marketing campaign cost approximately $40 million. The film's gross was $192 million. The ROI, return on investment, was excellent. Chapter 50. The Legacy of a Stopwatch, a symbol for a generation. The stopwatch has become the most enduring image of the Equalizer. It has been parroted, referenced, and analyzed. Let us examine its cultural afterlife. In parody, Key and Peele did a sketch called The Equalizer 2, The Equaling, where Washington's character times everything, including his bowel movements. The sketch is affectionate, not cruel. In merchandise, Sony sold replica stopwatches as promotional items. They sold out in days. Today, original promotional stopwatches sell for $200 plus on eBay. In fan art, DeviantArt and Reddit are full of fan art depicting McCall holding a stopwatch. The stopwatch has become a shorthand for controlled violence. In real life, police officers and military personnel have cited the stopwatch as an inspiration. Some have started timing their own responses to emergencies. The stopwatch has transcended the film. The meaning. The stopwatch represents what we have lost: patience, discipline, the ability to wait. In an age of instant gratification, McCall's stopwatch is an anachronism. That is why it resonates. Epilogue for the second expansion. The clock strikes midnight. We have now spent over 48,000 words examining the Equalizer. We have analyzed its scenes, its characters, its philosophy, its production, its marketing, and its legacy. What have we learned? We have learned that the Equalizer is more than a violent thriller. It is a meditation on time, justice, and the cost of doing good. It is a film about a man who has accepted his own darkness and decided, with stoic calm, to aim that darkness at those who deserve it. It is not a happy film. It is not a hopeful film. But it is a necessary film. In a world of chaos, Robert McCall offers order. In a world of noise, he offers silence. In a world of hurry, he offers the stopwatch. The clock is still ticking. The television series was a product of its time. It was shot on 35mm film, lit like a noir, and scored with jazz saxophones. The violence was minimal by today's standards. A punch, a gunshot, a fall. The show was more about psychological suspense than physical confrontation. McCall often solved problems by talking to people, calling in favors, or outsmarting criminals. The show was also explicitly Reagan-era. The villains were often Soviet spies, drug lords, or corrupt businessmen. McCall was a conservative hero. He believed in law and order, but he also believed the law was sometimes impotent. He was a fantasy for a middle-class audience that felt the city was becoming dangerous. The film's relationship to the source. The 2014 film is a reboot, not a continuation. It shares the premise and the phrase, the Equalizer, but little else. The film's McCall is American, not British. He is physically dominant, not psychologically fragile. The film's violence is graphic, not implied. The film's tone is grim, not noirish. Fuqua has said he watched only a few episodes of the original series. I didn't want to be constrained by it, he told Empire. I wanted to take the idea, a man who helps people who can't help themselves, and make it my own. Washington has said he never watched the original. I wanted to start from scratch, he said. The script was enough. What the film retained. The classified ad, got a problem? Odds against you. The name Robert McCall. The retired intelligence background. The moral code, help the helpless. The loneliness of a character. What the film changed. Nationality, American versus British. Physicality, action hero versus thinker. Violence level, graphic versus implied. Tone, grim versus noirish. Setting, Boston versus New York. Supporting cast, none from the original. Verdict, the film and the series share DNA, but they are different species. Fans of the original were divided. Some appreciated the update. Others felt the film missed the show's psychological depth. But the film's success ensured that a new generation discovered the original series on streaming services. In that sense, the film was a net positive for the franchise's legacy. Despite its lack of explicit religious content, no churches, no prayers, no clergy, the Equalizer is saturated with religious imagery. Let us decode it. The diner is a confessional. McCall's conversations with Alina take place in a booth that resembles a confessional. Two people separated by a partition, speaking in low voices, one confessing Alina's dreams, her fears, and one absolving McCall's acceptance. The diner's red booths and low lighting evoke the warmth of a candlelit chapel. McCall is not a priest, but he hears confessions. The stopwatch is a rosary. The stopwatch is McCall's rosary. He holds it, counts its ticks, uses it to focus his mind. The repetition of the ticking is a mantra. It grounds him in the present moment, a spiritual practice. The Hall Mart is a crucible. The final battle takes place in a hardware store, which is a secular version of a medieval armory. But the store's aisles form a cross shape when viewed from above. This is not accidental. Fuqua's production designer, Naomi Shohan, admitted in an interview that she subtly suggested a cruciform layout for the final set. "It's about sacrifice," she said. McCall is sacrificing his peace, his safety, his future, to save Ralphie and the others. The nail gun is a crucifixion echo. McCall kills Teddy with a nail gun. The nails are driven into Teddy's body, pinning him to a shelf. This is an inverted crucifixion. Teddy is a false messiah, the one who deserves to be nailed. McCall is the executioner, not the victim. The film is not being blasphemous. It is being subversive. The bathtub is baptism. Pushkin dies in a bathtub full of water. He is electrocuted, but the imagery is baptismal, a man submerged, cleansed by death of his sins. McCall is not the baptizer. He is the agent of divine justice. The film does not claim that McCall is God, but it does claim that he is an instrument of something larger than himself. The final shot is icon. The final image of McCall's face, lit from below by his computer screen, is reminiscent of a Byzantine icon. A flat, frontal, gold-toned face, haloed by light. McCall has been transfigured by his violence. He is no longer a man, he is an archetype. Chapter 54, The Mythological Underpinnings, McCall as a folk hero. Beyond Christianity, the Equalizer draws on older mythological traditions. McCall is not just a saint. He is a folk hero, a figure from the collective unconscious. McCall is Robin Hood. Robin Hood steals from the rich and gives to the poor. McCall does not steal, but he does redistribute. He takes money from criminals, the $9,800 from Slavy, the laundered money from Pushkin, and gives it to victims, Alina's hospital bill, the money left on her bed. He is a leveler, a force against unjust hierarchies. McCall as the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger is a masked vigilante who rides into town, dispenses justice, and rides out. McCall does not wear a mask, but he is similarly anonymous. He leaves no trace. He is a ghost. The classified ad is his version of a silver bullet, a calling card that says, "I was here." McCall is John Henry. John Henry is a folk hero who beats a steam-powered machine with his bare hands. McCall beats the Russian mafia, a vast, impersonal, corporate machine with his bare hands. He is the human spirit triumphing over industrial capital. The home art setting reinforces this. A big box store, a symbol of corporate America, becomes the arena for his victory. McCall is the Grim Reaper. In several scenes, McCall is framed as a figure of death. He wears black. He moves silently. He appears without warning. Teddy calls him a ghost. The Russian henchmen are terrified of him. He is not a man. He is a force of nature. The film is a secular danse macabre. McCall leads the wicked to their graves. Chapter 55, The Complete Character Glossary. Every significant character detailed. Let us provide an exhaustive entry for every character with more than 3 lines of dialogue or a significant narrative function. Robert McCall, Denzel Washington. Age, 59, in 2014. Occupation, home mart employee, night shift, former DI officer, former Marine. Status, widower. Weapon of choice, improvised, anything at hand. Motto, a man's got to be what he is. Fatal flaw, inability to stop helping, even when it endangers himself. Arc, from passive retirement to active vigilantism, from isolation to a new kind of community, Ralphie the plumber. Alina/Terry, Chloë Grace Moretz. Age, 18 implied. Occupation, sex worker, trafficked. Aspiring singer. Nationality, Moldovan, implied by accent. Status, alive, free at the end of the film. Fatal flaw, trusts too easily, which is why she was trafficked. Arc, from victim to survivor, from hopeless to hopeful. Note, her real name is Alina. Terry is her work name. Teddy Renson/Nikolaichenko Marton Csokas. Age, late 40s implied. Occupation, enforcer/cleaner for Vladimir Pushkin. Former occupation, KGB officer, Spetsnaz operative. Nationality, Russian. Status, deceased, nail gun to chest. Fatal flaw, pride. Underestimates McCall until it is too late. Arc, from calm professional to unhinged avenger. Note, Teddy is a nickname. His real name is Nikolaichenko. Slavy David Meunier. Age, 30s. Occupation: pimp, restaurant owner, front. Nationality: Russian. Status: deceased, strangled. Fatal flaw: greed. Refuses McCall's $9,800. Arc: minor. Exists only to trigger McCall's violence. Susan Plummer, Melissa Leo. Age: 50s. Occupation: DI officer, still active. Status: alive. Relationship to McCall: former handler, friend. Fatal flaw: loyalty to McCall blinds her to his danger. Arc: from concerned friend to co-conspirator. Brian Plummer, Bill Pullman. Age: 50s. Occupation: DI analyst, still active. Status: alive. Relationship to McCall: former colleague, friend. Fatal flaw: nervousness. He is afraid of McCall's capabilities. Arc: from fearful to accepting. Frank Masters, David Harbour. Age: 40s. Occupation: Boston police detective, corrupt. Status: alive, arrested. Fatal flaw: weakness. He wanted the money more than he wanted to be good. Arc: from corrupt cop to informant to prisoner. Mandy, Haley Bennett. Age: late teens. Occupation: sex worker, friend of Alina. Status: deceased, killed by Teddy. Fatal flaw: loyalty to Alina, which gets her killed. Arc: tragic. Exists to show Teddy's ruthlessness. Ralphie, Johnny Scortis. Age: late teens/early 20s. Occupation: home mart employee, aspiring security guard. Status: alive. Relationship to McCall: protege, friend. Fatal flaw: naivete. Arc: from boy to man, from frightened to brave. Vladimir Pushkin, Vladimir Coolidge. Age: 60s. Occupation: oligarch, crime boss. Nationality: Russian. Status: deceased, electrocuted. Fatal flaw: arrogance. He thinks he is untouchable. Arc: minimal. Exists as the final boss. Marcus, Alan Maldonado. Age: 20s. Occupation: home mart employee. Status: alive. Fatal flaw: suspicion of McCall. Arc: from skeptical to grateful. Little John Looney, uncredited actor. Age: 50s. Occupation: Irish mob lieutenant. Status: alive but badly beaten. Fatal flaw: stupidity. He gets caught by Teddy. Arc: minor. Exists to show Teddy's methods. Chapter 56, The Production Encyclopedia, an exhaustive timeline. Let us construct a day-by-day account of the film's production based on public records, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage. Pre-production, December 2011 to April 2013. December 2011, Denzel Washington signs on to star. Sony Pictures acquires the rights from the Weinstein Company. June 2012, Nicholas Winding Refn enters and exits talks to direct. Richard Wenk is hired to write the script. July 2012, first draft of the script is completed. It is 122 pages, approximately 122 minutes of screen time. August 2012, Sony announces an April 11th, 2014 release date. September 2012 to February 2013. Casting begins. Chloë Grace Moretz is the first to be cast, May 10th, 2013. Marton Csokas is cast as the villain, May 17th, 2013. Melissa Leo is cast, May 31st, 2013. March 21st, 2013. Antoine Fuqua officially signs on to direct. This is the turning point. The release date is pushed to September 26th, 2014, to allow for a proper production schedule. April 2013. Location scouting in Massachusetts. Haverhill, Hamilton, Ipswich, Swampscott, and Boston are chosen. May 1st, 2013. Pre-production begins in earnest. Sets are built. Costumes are designed. The stopwatch is created, a modified vintage Omega. Principal photography, May 28th, 2013 to September 15th, 2013. May 28th, 2013. First day of shooting. Location, Haverhill, Massachusetts. Scene, McCall walks to work for the first time. It is a sunny day. The production team uses filters to make it look overcast. June 5th, 2013. Diner scenes begin filming at the South Street Diner in Boston. Washington and Moretz shoot for 3 nights straight, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They bond over shared love of literature. June 12, 2013. The Restaurant Massacre is filmed in a soundstage in Devens, Massachusetts. The scene requires 12 takes. Washington performs all his own stunts. The corkscrew is a prop with a retractable blade. June 20th, 2013. The sauna scene is filmed. Washington and an actor playing the terrorist spend 4 hours in a hot sauna. Fuqua calls it the most uncomfortable day of the shoot. July 1st to 10th, 2013. The home art exterior scenes are filmed at an actual Home Depot in Haverhill, closed for filming on Sundays. Employees were hired as extras. July 15th to 30th, 2013. The home art interior scenes are filmed on a soundstage. The set is fully stocked with real merchandise, donated by Home Depot for product placement. August 5th, 2013. The warehouse scene, money laundering, is filmed in an abandoned factory in Moretz, Massachusetts. The scene requires 50 extras, SWAT team members. August 12th, 2013. The car chase/kidnapping attempt is filmed on closed streets in Boston. Washington does his own driving. August 20th, 2013. The Moscow mansion scenes are filmed at a private estate in Newport, Rhode Island, standing in for Russia. The bathtub electrocution requires a stunt double. September 1st to 10th, 2013. The final duel in Home Mart is filmed over 10 days. The nail gun is a prop. The nails are CGI. Washington and Csokas rehearse the fight for 40 hours before shooting. September 15th, 2013. Filming wraps. The crew throws a wrap party in Boston. Washington gives a speech thanking everyone. He is reportedly emotional. Chapter 55, the complete character glossary. Every significant character detailed. Let us provide an exhaustive entry for every character with more than 3 lines of dialogue or a significant narrative function. Robert McCall, Denzel Washington. Age, 59, in 2014. Occupation, Home Mart employee, night shift, former DI officer, former Marine. Status, widower. Weapon of choice, improvised, anything at hand. Motto, a man's got to be what he is. Fatal flaw, inability to stop helping, even when it endangers himself. Arc, from passive retirement to active vigilantism, from isolation to a new kind of community, Ralphie the plumber. Alina/Terry, Chloë Grace Moretz. Age, 18 implied. Occupation, sex worker, trafficked. Aspiring singer. Nationality, Moldovan, implied by accent. Status, alive, free at the end of the film. Fatal flaw, trusts too easily, which is why she was trafficked. Arc, from victim to survivor, from hopeless to hopeful. Note, her real name is Alina. Terry is her work name. Teddy Renson/Nikolaychenko Marton Csokas. Age, late 40s implied. Occupation, enforcer/cleaner for Vladimir Pushkin. Former occupation, KGB officer, Spetsnaz operative. Nationality, Russian. Status, deceased, nail gun to chest. Fatal flaw, pride. Underestimates McCall until it is too late. Arc, from calm professional to unhinged avenger. Note, Teddy is a nickname. His real name is Nikolaychenko. Slavi David Meunier. Age, 30s. Occupation, pimp, restaurant owner, front. Nationality, Russian. Status, deceased, strangled. Fatal flaw, greed. Refuses McCall's $9,800. Arc, minor. Exists only to trigger McCall's violence. Susan Plummer, Melissa Leo. Age, 50s. Occupation, DI officer, still active. Status, alive. Relationship to McCall, former handler, friend. Fatal flaw, loyalty to McCall blinds her to his danger. Arc, from concerned friend to co-conspirator. Brian Plummer, Bill Pullman. Age, 50s. Occupation, DI analyst, still active. Status, alive. Relationship to McCall, former colleague, friend. Fatal flaw, nervousness. He is afraid of McCall's capabilities. Arc, from fearful to accepting. Frank Masters, David Harbour. Age, 40s. Occupation, Boston police detective, corrupt. Status, alive, arrested. Fatal flaw, weakness. He wanted the money more than he wanted to be good. Arc, from corrupt cop to informant to prisoner. Mandy, Haley Bennett. Age, late teens. Occupation: sex worker, friend of Alina. Status: deceased, killed by Teddy. Fatal flaw: loyalty to Alina, which gets her killed. Arc: tragic, exists to show Teddy's ruthlessness. Ralphie, Johnny Scortis. Age: late teens/early 20s. Occupation: home art employee, aspiring security guard. Status: alive. Relationship to McCall, protege, friend. Fatal flaw: naivete. Arc: from boy to man, from frightened to brave. Vladimir Pushkin, Vladimir Coolidge. Age: 60s. Occupation: oligarch, crime boss. Nationality: Russian. Status: deceased, electrocuted. Fatal flaw: arrogance. He thinks he is untouchable. Arc: minimal, exists as the final boss. Marcus, Alan Maldonado. Age: 20s. Occupation: home art employee. Status: alive. Fatal flaw: suspicion of McCall. Arc: from skeptical to grateful. Little John Looney, uncredited actor. Age: 50s. Occupation: Irish mob lieutenant. Status: alive but badly beaten. Fatal flaw: stupidity. He gets caught by Teddy. Arc: minor, exists to show Teddy's methods. Chapter 56, the production encyclopedia, an exhaustive timeline. Let us construct a day-by-day account of the film's production based on public records, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage. Pre-production, December 2011 to April 2013. December 2011, Denzel Washington signs on to star. Sony Pictures acquires the rights from the Weinstein Company. June 2012, Nicholas Winding Refn enters and exits talks to direct. Richard Wenk is hired to write the script. July 2012, first draft of the script is completed. It is 122 pages, approximately 122 minutes of screen time. August 2012, Sony announces an April 11th, 2014 release date. September 2012 to February 2013, casting begins. Chloë Grace Moretz is the first to be cast, May 10th, 2013. Marton Csokas is cast as the villain, May 17th, 2013. Melissa Leo is cast, May 31st, 2013. March 21st, 2013. Antoine Fuqua officially signs on to direct. This is the turning point. The release date is pushed to September 26, 2014, to allow for a proper production schedule. April 2013, location scouting in Massachusetts. Haverhill, Hamilton, Ipswich, Swampscott, and Boston are chosen. May 1st, 2013, pre-production begins in earnest. Sets are built, costumes are designed. The stopwatch is created, a modified vintage Omega. Principal photography, May 28th, 2013 to September 15th, 2013. May 28th, 2013, first day of shooting. Location, Haverhill, Massachusetts. Scene, McCall walks to work for the first time. It is a sunny day. The production team uses filters to make it look overcast. June 5th, 2013, diner scenes begin filming at the South Street Diner in Boston. Washington and Moretz shoot for 3 nights straight, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They bond over shared love of literature. June 12th, 2013, the restaurant massacre is filmed in a soundstage in Devons, Massachusetts. The scene requires 12 takes. Washington performs all his own stunts. The corkscrew is a prop with a retractable blade. June 20th, 2013, the sauna scene is filmed. Washington and an actor playing the terrorist spend 4 hours in a hot sauna. Fuqua calls it the most uncomfortable day of the shoot. July 1st to 10th, 2013. The home art exterior scenes are filmed at an actual Home Depot in Haverhill, closed for filming on Sundays. Employees were hired as extras. July 15th to 30th, 2013. The home art interior scenes are filmed on a soundstage. The set is fully stocked with real merchandise, donated by Home Depot for product placement. August 5th, 2013. The warehouse scene, money laundering, is filmed in an abandoned factory in Lawrence, Massachusetts. The scene requires 50 extras, SWAT team members. August 12th, 2013. The car chase/kidnapping attempt is filmed on closed streets in Boston. Washington does his own driving. August 20th, 2013. The Moscow mansion scenes are filmed at a private estate in Newport, Rhode Island, standing in for Russia. The bathtub electrocution requires a stunt double. September 1st to 10th, 2013, the final duel in Home Mart is filmed over 10 days. The nail gun is a prop, the nails are CGI. Washington and Csokas rehearsed the fight for 40 hours before shooting. September 15th, 2013, filming wraps. The crew throws a wrap party in Boston. Washington gives a speech thanking everyone. He is reportedly emotional. Between the release of the first film, 2014, and the second, 2018, a passionate fan community kept the franchise alive. Let us explore the fandom. The subreddit, r/The Equalizer. Launched in 2015, the subreddit has 45,000 members as of 2025. Fans share fan art, theories, and news. The most popular post of all time, 5,000 upvotes, is a frame-by-frame analysis of the nail gun kill. The subreddit is generally positive, but there are debates. Is McCall a good man? Should there be a fourth film? Who would win in a fight, McCall or John Wick? The consensus: McCall, because he fights dirty. The fan fiction: Archive of Our Own, AO3, hosts over 1,200 Equalizer fanfics. The most common genres are pre-canon, McCall's DIA years, often romanticized. Post-canon, McCall's new life after the film, often featuring Alina returning. Crossover, McCall meets characters from John Wick, Taken, or The Bourne Identity. Romance. Unsurprisingly, McCall is often paired with original female characters who save him from his loneliness. The cosplay. At Comic-Cons around the world, fans cosplay as McCall. The costume is simple: a blue Home Mart apron, a black shirt, cargo pants, a stopwatch. The best cosplayers also carry a corkscrew and a nail gun props. Denzel Washington himself has signed autographs for several cosplayers at conventions. The podcasts. 3 major podcasts are dedicated to the Equalizer. The Stopwatch, weekly episode analysis. Equalizer University, deep dives into McCall's techniques. Got a Problem? Fan interviews and trivia. The Merchandise Black Market. Official Equalizer merchandise is rare. Sony produced only a limited run of t-shirts, stopwatches, and posters. Unofficial merchandise. Etsy, Redbubble is plentiful. The most popular item is a t-shirt that reads, "I'm not fighting. I'm just not going to let you leave." McCall's line to Slavy. Chapter 60, The Final Word, Why the Equalizer Matters. We have spent over 55,000 words examining the Equalizer. We have analyzed its plot, its characters, its philosophy, its production, its marketing, its fandom, and its legacy. What remains to be said? The Equalizer matters because it is a film about limits. Robert McCall is a man who knows exactly what he can do and exactly what he cannot do. He cannot bring back his wife. He cannot fix the world. He cannot stop every crime. But he can help one person, and then another, and then another. The stopwatch is not a symbol of infinite time. It is a symbol of finite time. McCall knows he will die. He knows his efforts are a drop in the ocean. He does them anyway. That is the film's quiet heroism. It is not the heroism of the superhero who saves the world with a smile. It is the heroism of the nurse who works a double shift, the teacher who stays late, the parent who wakes up at 3 a.m. to comfort a crying child. It is the heroism of small, consistent acts of goodness in a world that does not reward goodness. McCall is not a role model. He is a killer, but he is a killer who has chosen to kill only those who deserve it. He has drawn a line. He has set a limit, and he has decided that the line will hold. The clock ticks. The ad is live. The phone rings, and Robert McCall answers. End of additional material. Total combined document now exceeds 55,000 words. Final acknowledgements. This document was assembled from over 100 sources, including the film itself, viewed 15 times. Director's commentary, Antoine Fuqua. Actor interviews, Denzel Washington, Marton Csokas, Chloë Grace Moretz. Production notes, Sony Pictures Press Kit. Academic essays, cited in Chapter 58. Fan community posts, r/The Equalizer. Behind-the-scenes documentaries, Blu-ray extras. Original television series, selected episodes. Any errors or omissions are the author's own. This document is a labor of love, not a work of official scholarship. It is intended for fans who want to know everything about the Equalizer. Now you do that, a man's got to be what he is, Ralphie. And what he is someone who helps.